Students, hello, welcome back. In today's video we're going to talk all about the present simple with English grammar and use by Raymond Murphy. Get your notebook and pen. Let's get ready to learn. Let's look at an example. Here is David, and David is a teacher, like me, but now he is in bed asleep. That was me last night. He is not teaching because he is asleep, but he teaches. He is a teacher, right? He teaches. He is a teacher. So what is the present simple and how do we make it? Well, first of all, we just use the base form of the verb, the dictionary form, the first form, whatever you would like to call it. However, with he, she and it, you have to remember to add s to the end of the verb. It's very, very important. So we say I drive, he drives. We work, she works, they do, it does. It's very important to remember that. Here are some things that we also need to remember about the present simple. First of all, we know that we use the present simple to talk about things in general, things that are everyday. We use it to say that something happens all the time or many times. We also use it to say that something is true. So if you want to say the truth, like water boils at 100 degrees, we always use present simple. Here are some more examples. I usually go to the cafe at weekends. Do you? The moon orbits the earth. Police officers arrest criminals. Arrest means, like in the picture, can you see? Orbit means go around something in space. So the moon orbits the earth and the earth orbits the sun, right? Now I'm going to make this point again because it's very, very important. Very important. We say I work but she works. Notice the spelling. They teach but my sister teaches. Also here notice the spelling after C-H-E-S. You go but it goes. After O we usually put ES. I have but he has. Now sometimes we need to change the verb completely to add the S on the end. Have is a good example of this because have is a common verb. We use it quite often in English because it just has many meanings. So just be aware of the spelling of that one. How do we say no? Well, we use the negative. Negative is very important that we use do or doesn't. Again, the rule applies. I, we, you, they don't. He, she, it doesn't. Very important. But the verb just stays in the same form. Work, drive, do, doesn't matter because the S goes on the end of the do to make doesn't, okay? Do and don't are called auxiliary verbs. An auxiliary verb is a helping verb, a grammar verb. We need them in English. Here are some good examples of some negatives. He doesn't work hard. Lazy boy. He doesn't do anything. Notice here, yes, do is an auxiliary verb, but do can also be the main verb too. So we can say doesn't do. We don't say doesn't anything. We say doesn't do anything. The two do's here are different. One is the auxiliary verb do, the other is the main verb do. Remember. She doesn't go out very often. She's recluse. You can see that. She doesn't go out very often. Questions. How do we make them? Again, do or does are the important words because, like I said, they are the auxiliary verbs, the helping verbs, the grammar verbs. The most important verbs in the present simple. We use the do, does, plus the pronoun, I, we, you, they, he, she, it, plus the verb. Again here, notice the verb, we don't need to add the S because the S is already on the end of does. So if we want to use the pronoun he, she, it, remember that the do needs to be does. Also, you can add a question word to the front of this, like what, when, how, do, how, where, on the front of the do and the does, right? Again, the same rule applies. Where do you work? Where does she work? Notice the difference, okay? Notice the structure of the question below in the blue. Question word plus do, does, the auxiliary verb, plus pronoun plus main verb, okay? Very important. Here are some examples. Do you work? Let me know in the comments. Where do you work? What do you do? Again, here you can see the structure. Do, pronoun, verb. Question verb, do you work? You, pronoun, work, verb. What do you do? Here again an example of do as an auxiliary and do as the main verb. So you can say this in English. We also use present simple to say how often we do things. This is an intermediate class, so we don't really want to go through too much of the beginner stuff like always, sometimes, often, never. Yes, it's something you learn in the beginner class, but we can use present simple like we did in the beginner class to say that how often we do something. Just be careful though with the sentence structure. If you want to say a time phrase like every morning or 4 times a week, we need to put it at the end of the sentence, whereas adverbs of frequency like never, for example, go between the pronoun and the verb. Just be careful of the rules here, but we usually use present simple, like I said, to say how often we do these things. If you have any questions about that, then just leave the comment in the comments below. Now, a last thing I want to add on is sometimes when we want to say something, we also use present simple. Here, this is like 2 parts of the sentence. We have the I say and then the next part. So, for example, when you say I promise, here they're listed here. When we say something like I promise, I suggest, I apologize, I advise, I insist, I agree, I refuse, I plead. This is plead, please. Then we are saying something, aren't we? So we usually say, I promise, da 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 da. Now, I promise usually with future because it's a future thing. I promise I will be on time. But the I promise is present. It's not I will promise I will be on time. I suggest you see a doctor. This is a piece of advice. It's all in present simple. I suggest you see a doctor, not I will suggest. I advise you get up earlier. Yes, you. That's you over there. I advise you get up earlier. So here is some examples. Again, if you want some more examples of these, let me know in the comments below. Also, a good way to study and practice is to make sentences, so I advise you to go back through the video, maybe stopping at points to make some sentences of your own. In the meantime though, if you want to continue your learning, then I advise you to press this video here, because this video will show you how to take your English further than just present simple. But anyway, thanks so much for joining me today in this wonderful lesson. I really appreciate it. You're a beautiful, handsome person. And make sure you press the like button and subscribe.